Hi, I'm Matt from HockeyReviews.ca, and this is the CCM Jetspeed Pro pant snapshot review with all the rest of the Jetspeed stuff for this line. Well, the FT8 Pro, obviously this isn't the FT8 Pro, this is the Pro. They made a bunch of changes to things, listened to a lot of feedback on the elbow pads and the shoulder pads. Want to see if they did the same on pants. So I have the FT6 Pro ones that I did a full review on years ago and that CCM sent me. I'm going to compare these two side by side first to see the comparisons and what really changed from one to the next Pro. And I'll put these on as well and go over a comparison of all like the protection parts and the coverage and all that between all of these, and to see if these are like a pro stock pant now at retail. And in a separate video, I will cover the Jetspeed Pro compared to these HP45s. I won't do a direct comparison of all the details in this. I'll do a kind of pretty quick protection on you comparison here to show the differences between these and that Jetspeed Pro directly. But this video will mostly be the FT6 Pro compared to the Jetspeed Pro. So to begin and to kind of get this part out of the way, obviously these are called Jetspeed Pro and not FT8 Pro, which the rest of this line is: the gloves, elbow pads, shin guards, as well as shoulder pads, obviously the skates and the stick, which comes out every 6 months. Anyways, for these Jetspeed Pros, I think what CCM is doing here, and I don't have confirmation on it, what companies have been doing in the goalie market in the past is they're removing the direct line of their protective equipment, so like pants, shoulder pads, and like accessories, so they don't have like Supreme or Vapor really anymore for price point stuff. It's just one line. Saves having to reintroduce and make new lines all the time, and you can expand the like cycles for them. So this Jetspeed Pro could last 4 years. It could last longer. We don't know yet in terms of when the next one of these is going to come out and the updated version. I think this is a great idea and kind of goes down what I was saying for on the FT6 Pro review, where CCM really just needs to ditch pant pieces every single year and just release these. This is an old model pant. This is based off of, I believe, the RBZs. There's a reason these were used so much in the NHL and everything, and even against the new tax, this is fantastic and way better. I basically recommended CCM to go down that route and just make a Pro line, which was that Pro stock pant available at retail, so you don't have to chase weights all the time, so you don't have to worry about marketing and everything. Literally just, these are the pants the pros wear. That's it. I feel like this is almost them doing that. So I'll cover all the details on here and compare these two and to see if these actually live up to the Pro nameplate. Check out the links in the description as well as the pinned comment to Aycane. Click that link and use the coupon code and you'll get a discount, which helps support the channel, gives me a kickback so I can keep making more content and doing more videos. So you're buying hockey stuff, in this case base layers or clothing, and it helps support the channel so I can keep making more purchases and doing more reviews. And if you want to support the channel without buying hockey specific things or these base layers, you can always support the channel through Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon. Everything through any of those links always comes back into the channel and it is greatly appreciated. So for a quick comparison part at the very beginning between the Pro and the FT6 Pro, you can see the attachment points. Just like everything else, CCM has gotten rid of the blue accents on here for AER-TEC and has made it red, which works more on this one because it is a red pant. And you can see attachment piece right here as well. It says Jetspeed has that red little piece on here, where the old one was a little blue piece right here. For this piece, it is the same. As you can see, that opens up and this opens up, and this is pretty similar to each other, if not identical. This material feels all the same everywhere on here. Now, the one thing is this foam piece right here is thicker, and this back piece is a really interesting material. This actually feels really nice. Honestly, this would feel nice as a t-shirt. So whatever this liner is on here feels pretty solid, and I'm a huge fan of, but this is also thicker than what was on the FT6 Pro. So when you line these up next to each other, you can see, hopefully, that this is basically double thickness of what the FT6 Pro is. So big solid piece on there, because this was so thin it was basically useless from a protective standpoint. This will give you a bit more protection on there, nothing crazy, and you definitely still want a jock and everything back here, but it is nicer that is a bit thicker than what it was before. Starting off with the belt, you obviously have the same belt system here with those accents like I mentioned. Now this belt system has their anti-twist or torsion piece on here, so the belt goes through all the way here. I do like how this inner belt really isn't an inner belt, like it's not on the outside, so I guess technically it's inner, but it has this thick padding throughout the whole thing. And it doesn't on the back piece, so you can see it does have that plastic piece right here, which was on the previous one. But I do like how it does actually have that padding through it, which hasn't changed on the previous version. Same thing throughout, it had that padding. It also did have, see, as you can see on the FT6 Pro, anti-twist, where the new one is called an anti-torsion. So don't know if they really changed anything there or if it's pure marketing, but I did like that system. And for an inner belt, it wasn't bad because you don't really feel that on your hips because it is so padded. You still have the Velcro extension piece on here, which is the same on both of these. The AER-TEC tag as well right there. You do have a slightly different shape of this belt. Kind of angles in. I'm not sure the direct reason behind that. And this one was angled this way, but didn't come to a point. Has the hooks to hang these up and to put suspenders on as well. Same as what the FT6 Pro was on there. The logos are identical. They have this interesting little texture on there for both of them, so nothing has changed there. The material also feels pretty much the same throughout on there. There is a big difference on the front of this in terms of material, where you can see how much bigger this gap is right here for ventilation. So this is obviously for AER-TEC. This piece right here is all ventilated foam, which you can hopefully see through this. I can see it when looking at it off camera. So it does have a little tiny bit of padding on here, not a lot to be honest. It has a bit of ventilation through it because it does have holes through it. And then right here is totally nothing there. It is totally exposed. And it's all for that ventilation for AER-TEC. On the FT6 Pro, you can see it did have that little bit of ventilated foam back here, but this part has folded, so there's no padding up here because it got kind of squished down. So hopefully that doesn't happen on the future ones, but you can see how it happened on this one after years of use. But that did have pretty similar materials right here. To me, these felt exactly the same in terms of overall thickness, so I don't think that changed between these at all. And just like the other one, there's no padding right there. I'm gonna do a full like on coverage piece, so you really get an idea of what's covered through here. So looking at the legs themselves, these feel very similar to each other in terms of this outer foam piece. And you can see it's from here all the way over to here. Same thing on the Jetspeed Pro. I can't really tell if this is any different. It looks very similar. The Pro felt like it fit a bit tighter on me when wearing, but that might be because of these FT6 Pros are a couple of years older now and might have flexed out a bit, but it does feel like it is a bit more like closed off. This is more rounded than what is on the FT6 Pro, that is for sure. But when I actually like squeeze the foam on here and everything, they feel very similar in terms of overall protection. And for the inner foam protection, I don't think there's any plastics in here. I tried to feel underneath and I can't really feel any plastic. This is a very hard foam. It feels like a plastic when you actually hit it with how dense this foam is, but I'm pretty sure it just is a foam. On the previous one, it had a perforated design back here, which I'm guessing is to save weight. It won't work for AER-TEC since it has to go through a molded foam anyways, which isn't going to breathe on the FT6 Pro. And when you go to the FT8 Pro, you can see the design has changed slightly. You do have this backed foam piece here, which overall feels like it's thinner than what is on the FT6 Pro. So you can see the 6 Pro is a bit thicker there. The FT8 Pro is a bit thinner there. And then the actual foam backing piece, like right here, is a molded foam that does definitely seem like it is the exact same in terms of overall size and construction on the Jetspeed Pro and the FT6 Pro. It just feels like the shape on Jetspeed Pro is more curved and it is like tighter to your leg than what was on the FT6 Pro. Also on the side, and again, I'll cover this a bit more, but this way you can actually see what this foam is back here. So you have, when we look back here, a little piece of plastic as well as that foam to protect the back of the leg on the FT6 Pro. And when you compare it to what is on the FT8 Pro, you have the exact same thing, and this slides out totally, so I can just take that out. So you can see you still have that plastic piece and the ventilated foam. I don't think this is actually ventilated, again, for AER-TEC, probably just to save weight. And then on the back piece, there is a really thin foam that I'm not going to take out. It's super thin on both of them, and I think it's probably the same size overall. Going on to the back of the shell itself, you have your spine protection right here, which has that AER-TEC on the inside. And it looks like the exact same design what is on the FT6 Pro compared to the Jetspeed Pro. Same with your attachment points here. Nothing here really changed. This is really like an evolution. It's growing on the FT6 Pro line with some minor changes. Looking at the inside, the liner has changed from red to blue, as you can see, which is kind of interesting because the Jetspeed line liner has been red forever, so now it's now blue. Material feels very similar to each other. Even the design looks very similar. It just looks like they're changing the base color. For padding through this piece, it all feels the same on here. So really this whole upper part feels like like it's all the same throughout both of them, and I can't really see a difference between these, to be totally honest. Down here, we do have their AER-TEC ventilation, and it has this vented foam on the FT6 Pro. That's still there on the FT8 Pro, same ventilation throughout here. So when we look at the butt padding, this has been improved since the FT6 Pro, and I'm very happy to, because it wasn't great before. We look at the main pieces, and you can see the main piece is also thicker. Now, the one thing, these FT6 Pros have been used for a while, so maybe this is getting compressed because you kind of partially sit on this sometimes. But as you can see on the Jetspeed, it is thicker right there. And more importantly, on the sides, it's almost double the thickness throughout the side. So all the padding right over here is much thicker than what was on the FT6 Pro. It also has some venting through this side too, so you can see the holes cut out here. I don't know if that's for weight or air, because this part isn't really vented, but the air will come through here, because you can see there is some like just holes throughout the actual design. No plastic insert through here, as you can see, but this is pretty solid and thicker, especially compared to what was on the Jetspeed FT6 Pro. So the Jetspeed Pro has definitely improved on that sense. The actual connection piece between the back plate here is the same here, and it does have this vented foam on the inside, but it doesn't vent anywhere. So I'm assuming this is just for weight savings, because back here, there's no airflow going to go through there. Now, when we actually look at the foam padding throughout the sides, this will be your hip protector and everything. And I want to call this out just from the wear standpoint. So you can see how this ugly mesh that I hate that was on the elbow pads does wear out like this. So it would be nicer if this wasn't that material. This can go through. Obviously, this isn't going to vent as well as this does, but you look on the other side and this material isn't going to vent either. So I really don't understand why they do this, because if you blow air through here, you can't feel it on the other side and vice versa. So there's really no reason to have this venting design, and it will just wear out faster than going all through this normal inner liner, which you can see some wear here, but much better than what is on here. Now, for the actual differences between these, there really doesn't feel like there's all that much. The main protective piece is right here, and we line it up against, and it feels pretty similar to each other, and I can't really tell a huge difference here between the Pro, which is this one, which doesn't feel super thick, but you can see the thickness of the padding there, versus the Jetspeed FT6 Pro on the other one. Again, this feels pretty close to each other. Doesn't feel like it's a massive difference when I'm feeling it like this, but when I put it on, it will give you a better picture of that. And you want to support the channel, and you need a base layer and a protective, kind of supportive base layer that helps protect your groin as well as your hips. Check out the Core-Tech. This is the Pro 1.0 pant, so this one is not quite as restrictive, and this is kind of tight right here in this X pattern. You might have seen these as Under Armour before, or Bauer for the hockey specific ones. There's also the Core 3.0, which is a lot stiffer, as you can see. Really helps protect my groin and keeping it kind of in place and make sure it doesn't overstretch itself. There's a discount code, and you click the link in the description. Use that discount code to get a discount off, help support myself, as well as get you some pretty awesome base layer pants that really do help with injury prevention and help stabilize your core while playing. For the FT6 Pro, full disclosure, these do feel lighter than what the HP 45s do, but they feel lighter because it just feels like there's nothing specifically right here. So the padding right here is non-existent. There is nothing covering right here at all. This is your bare skin. The padding for the actual plastic blocks starts back here for the actual plastic, and then the actual foam start here. So here is absolutely nothing. Here, this is all absolutely nothing. And then when we get to the Jetspeed Pro, here, there's a little thin piece of foam all throughout here. It's perforated, so it still has the AER-TEC, but this is all thin foam. This is nothing because of that AER-TEC. The foam around your hips starts right here. The plastic inserts start back here, so really similar to the FT6 Pro. There's a little, it doesn't feel like anything. There's nothing right here. The protection parts, you do have some foam right here, goes all the way down in here. So this has foam all the way through here. There is some added foam right all through here. The big protection pieces start right here. So this is a thicker foam, which is probably a plastic insert right here. So you get thinner foams, plastic insert here. There's no inner padding at all, so that's also nothing. You do have this, which is fine, but then there's still like nothing up here either. You have your AER-TEC, which is venting, so you can see that right there, but everything here, there's nothing there at all, and it goes like nothing right here either. So all of this, there's nothing for protection. This part is pretty solid. This feels tighter though than the 6 does. Maybe the 6s are just more broken in, but this feels tighter. There's nothing on the inside here either, so you lose all that padding. On the side,
Like I said, there's a little foam piece right here. There's nothing that starts there. The plastic insert starts here with some foam around here. So nothing right here. You do have a bit better padding right here. It's a little bit thicker. And then you have that butt padding. When we get on the side, obviously you have the upper parts right here. And then this block stops here with a thin piece of foam behind it. So this piece all right here is kind of two pieces, you can see. So that stops right there. And then you have this extra piece here, which is still very protective and very thick. On the back, it does have that two piece. So the piece is right here. It doesn't feel like this piece back here doesn't feel as thick as what this one does, whereas the HP45 it does. And then for the back part, there's some soft foam right here, nothing crazy. The plastic piece is basically right here where the other one kind of comes all the way through. This is just right here. And then you have some foam, thicker foams right here, and that kind of goes right along here. And then the back piece has a really thin part on the inside as well. For the leg piece itself, you have this solid piece here. And then it does break up like the HP45s do. And this is definitely solid. This has a little bit of padding coming down from up here, right here, which is also better than the FT6 Pro. This hip padding goes all the way back here. So that's all padded, which is good. And it has a pretty thick piece going to right here. So all of that coverage is a little bit better than on the FT6 Pro as well. On the back, you have a little piece of foam coming up here. Now for like the butt padding and everything, this thigh piece comes all the way to here for actual foam protection. And then you have a softer foam layer right here, stops right here. So this is all bare. And then on the butt, this is all exposed completely. There's a really soft foam right here. The actual butt piece is right back here. The thicker, well, sort of thicker padding is on the side right here. And it's not really big, to be honest. And it just feels like there's like nothing here compared to the 45s. And that's the gist of it. So there is like plastic up here, which is okay. But then a lot down here, like right here is nothing, over here is nothing. And this is all smaller. These are way lighter, but that's the trade-off for these, and I talked about it previously on this. The butt padding is right here. I don't think there's a plastic insert because I could just squeeze that in half. And if it is, it's much softer, but the actual thick part of it is right here. And then it has actually a bigger tail padding like right here. So this definitely feels like there's more because all of this feels like it's padded all the way up compared to the FT6 Pro. So it definitely feels like they beefed the butt padding at least because all of this feels like it's padded all the way up there. So that is much better than what is on the FT6 Pro. But this pant really just feels like kind of an intermediate step between the two. It's okay, it definitely has better spots, but it's not the leap that I was really hoping it was. Then you have the actual butt padding. The actual blocks themselves are right here. And then the softer piece is right here. So this doesn't have the plastic inserts, but it is still kind of padded on it. And then the back obviously is all padded up through here.
So one thing I want to clarify when I'm talking about when I'm wearing these pants and doing the comparison, when I looked at the inner parts, it was after I actually wore them. So when I said like these foams feel the same, they feel the same when you're touching them like this, but when you actually put them on, they felt thicker in the Jetspeed and it felt like it covered more area. So even though they looked identical when you're taking them out, when actually wearing them, the Jetspeed Pro definitely felt like it covered more down here and down here than what the FT6 Pro did, and it definitely felt like there was more padding throughout it in certain areas. Me putting them on was a blind look of just how they felt when they're on. So when pieces are pulled out and I take a look at things like this and they look like they're the same, when you actually put them on, they do end up covering a bit more on the Jetspeed Pro versus the FT6 Pro. So just like all of my videos, this video is going to be very long. So I'm not going to compare the 45 directly to the Jetspeed Pro pant. I will do that in a separate video because I always get questioned, why buy pro stock pants compared to retail? And I will put that in its own video and explain that. I will end up using this little nice caliper tool, look at the different sizes of foams and padding in the pro stock one compared to the retail. But this video is long enough, so I will take all that part out and it will be its own separate thing for details. I understand people wanting more lightweight and more mobility and wanting that option, but this exists and you get a more snug fit, you get more mobility, you get a more lightweight package. And I'm not weighing these two, which people probably want me to, but when I hold these, they feel lighter, and when I wear them, they feel lighter as well. And they have hard plastic pieces like this right in here. There's gaps in protection, but there's tons of gaps in protection in the Jetspeed Pro, and there are better lightweight options that are available than the Jetspeed Pro. I understand people all don't want girdles, but if you want to go this slim route and this more lightweight route, this is a better option. This pant, lower the price on these. Yeah, that won't happen. Lower the price on these, sell them as the price point down below, and keep that as your best one. Make it the Pro pant. This is the pant the pros wear. Make it the Pro pant. So one thing I want to mention on this, and it's super confusing. Yes, this is the Pro pant. The weird thing is the new AER-TECs, which is tax, it's literally a tax retail pant with a Pro shell. I bought one. It was terrible. I quickly sold it. I am trying to get an AER-TEC XP to see if the extra protection version is much better, because the UCLP and HP45 that this one is so much better than those AER-TECs. So this again is a case of CCM making some solid changes. They definitely had to beef up parts of this Jetspeed Pro, and they did, especially that landing area was nicer, and the actual padding on here does feel like it is slightly thicker. It is a nice that they added some parts of that and added some protection other places, but the problem here still again is the UCLP exists and the HP45 Pro stock pants exists, which are these. And I still have not understood why CCM doesn't just take those and put those at retail. This isn't really a Pro pant. It's getting there, it's getting better, but it can be better and it should be better. Now, for all purposes, I get that this Pro is heavier than the FT6 Pro, which was very light. This is still very light when you're feeling it. I didn't weigh these. I just wore them and held them because, again, chasing weights is ridiculous at this point and doesn't really matter. And the shoulder pads are excellent proof of having something slightly heavier but better overall is a better choice. And it's now I get that these are still lighter than the Pro ones, but you can always make lighter pants not be the top model. Make the top model the 45s, make them the Pro one, sell them for $300, which these are now priced, which is absolutely ridiculous for a pair of pants. Just call it the HP 45 or do it the year. So call it the hockey pant year. So instead of HP 45, like you can see here, call them the HP 25s. Came out in 2025. That's the model there is. You're done. Sell it for $300. Sell these for like $220. Make it so that top pant is amazing, and make it so people don't chase Pro stock pants constantly, because people have these options all the time. And yet I constantly see in the hockey community of people looking for HP 45s over and over again on like Sideline Swap, Hockey 6Man, all these Pro stock sellers, and it's harder and harder to find the colors they want. The colors they want are just like black. If you just sold this pant, well, I'll call it Jetspeed, whatever I said, make it that HP 45, sell it retail, it will sell so many more units and be easier to find, and you'll sell it versus people digging for Pro stocks. And this, I'm guessing they're going to sell this anyways, because let's be real, kids will buy them, parents will buy them, they'll go in the store, they'll have to buy them for their junior teams, they'll have to match colors and all that crap. It's not that great though, and it's still nowhere near can I recommend this. It's $300. You can get Pro stock pants for like 150 bucks new sometimes, Canadian. Like even 200 bucks new for the Pro stock pants are way more worth it than what these are. Yes, you don't get a warranty type thing. Yes, they're hard to find, but this should be as good as those, and it's not yet. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not quite there. So that's about it for this review. Hopefully it was helpful. If this review was helpful and helped you make a purchase, please let the company like CCM know on social media. And if you want to see me specifically review gear of a specific brand, I've gotten a ton of stick requests recently. Let the companies know on social media as well. So if you want to see me review the FT8 Pro stick, let CCM know on social media. Say you want to see hockey reviews, review your stick. Greatly appreciate on my end. Lets them know that my reviews are helpful and help people make purchasing decisions. So hopefully I can make more content like what I did on this line in the future, because obviously I just borrowed this set and so I couldn't do a full review on it and test it out. Me doing the whole FT6 Pro line I think was very helpful, and you could see the changes that they've made in the future on the FT8 Pro line, and a lot of that feedback, I'm not saying they took it from me, but they definitely made changes and my feedback lined up to those changes, which is a nice thing to see. Thank you very much for watching this video. Remember to subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Links are in the description. If you want to support the channel and you're buying hockey equipment anyways, if you're in the US, check out the links in the description to Pure Hockey. If you're in Canada, to Just Hockey. Clicking those links in the description and making a purchase gives me a kickback, helps support the channel so I can keep buying more gear and doing more on ice reviews. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without buying anything hockey specifically, you can check out the links in the description to Patreon and buy me a coffee. Everything through any of those links always comes back into the channel so I can keep making more content and doing more videos. Thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.